Hello and welcome, everybody. Today we're going to talk about whether you should take a full-time job before you finish your thesis. And my answer to that is going to be no. It depends, but generally no, right? The reason I'm bringing this up is because I had a coaching marathon with a couple of PhD students who are in one of my coaching programs, and some of them landed full-time jobs. And honestly, I'm really glad for them. Some of them have been on really precarious journeys for the last few years, right? So they got government subsidies, they were jobless, they didn't have a fellowship, no university program that sort of funds them. And it's really hard to finish your PhD thesis if you don't have money. I'll just say it like that. So the fact that these students are now able to pay their bills is great. It's great. But some of them have just gone silent, right? So I asked them, hey, we need a coaching session to figure out how long your thesis is going to take. Now that you have a full-time job, it's going to probably take longer. We need to talk about that, right? We need to make up a plan that works for a person who works for 40 hours. Because if you do that, you need to understand that your thesis submission could be delayed by 1 or even 2 years or more, right? If you're willing to accept that, then fine. But if you say, no, I'm over it, I really want to submit my thesis, then maybe you shouldn't take a 40-hour job, right? So that's a real question, right? Because a lot of people think, oh, if I got a job offer, I need to necessarily say yes, because who knows when the next job offer is coming around the corner, and what do I do? How do I, sort of build a sustainable career? And it really depends here, I would say, on whether you want to stay in academia or not. Because if you say, I am not really interested in staying academia, and you do have a job offer in an industry, you could go for it, right? And then once you get your title, maybe you get a pay jump, and it's great, right? But they don't necessarily need the title, for your career or for your pay jumps, whatever, right? So, but if you're planning to do a career in academia, if you do want to stay in academia, you need to finish your PhD, you need to get that title, and it doesn't matter how good or bad you think your thesis is, right? You've been writing on it for a couple of years. It's probably good enough to be submitted, right? So the purpose of the PhD thesis is for you to get a title, to prove that you're able to do independent work, independent scholarly work. And if you can prove that, great, right? Then let's submit this thing and move on with the next area of your life. But for those people of you who are really deciding, what I want to tell you is most people drop their thesis when they get into a full-time job. And that's just because in the first month of the full-time job, you're going to be exhausted, right? These are different working hours, different sort of environments in which you work, corporate environments, very different, right? So you need to be able to understand that you're going to crash out for the first month, you're not going to do anything. And after that, you need to pick up the pieces. You need to reacquaint yourself with your thesis. And you're going to work on nights or evenings or weekends, right? So you need to be aware of the fact that you are going to sacrifice your evenings, your weekends, and your free time for your PhD. Obviously, there's an alternative to that. If you know that there's a little scholarship that could support you for 6 months or for 3 months, right? It makes sense to apply to those things and sometimes even negotiate the start date of your job, even for 1 month, right? Because that gives you 1 month more to try and finish your thesis. So a lot of people in my coaching are really insecure about that. They don't know whether to take that job. Obviously, it presents a huge opportunity and it's great. And if you say, you're fed up of being precarious, you're fed up of being this poor PhD student who's writing their theses for 100 years and has no money, I totally get it. But you need a plan. You need a plan of how to finish your PhD thesis, even if you take that job, right? The other thing I want to say, though, is that we usually sort of operate from a place of scarcity, right? So we think that this is the first job that's being offered to us, so we have to take it because who knows if there's another job coming. And I want to reassure you that there are other jobs coming your way, right? You're talented, you're intelligent, and you're going to find new opportunities to prove yourself. So if you say, well, I do have a few more months of funding that I want to use, do finish the PhD thesis, right? Because you don't want to drag it on for too long. And this is also where I help PhD students really make those decisions. And I also have programs where I help PhD students actually finish their thesis in a certain amount of time, right? So we say we need a realistic time frame in which we're going to finish the thesis. I'm going to help you do that. So if you are in that spot right now, just reach out to me and let me know, and I probably can help you.